Hiya folks, Carl James here from Electric Media Madness. I'm joined by Dan Ryan. How you doing, mate?
Okay, yeah.
Good. We're here to talk about Star Trek Picard, Season 3. First and foremostly, let's just get out of the way some bits and bobs. It's been quite a long time, hasn't it?
It's been quite a long time.
You've had stuff going on, I've had stuff going on. We've both been ill again.
We're quite lucky, actually, that we're not ill for this.
Yeah, I know. We've had I had a gap in January of about a week where I recorded about 6 episodes of Strange Tales, which I am going to get them uploaded, get edited and uploaded to the channel. For anybody who's interested as well, I have got some interviews coming up. Hopefully, I'll get around to arranging some people that I've confirmed. I don't know when we're doing it yet, but it will be soon. I've got a list of people that I want to contact as well. Hopefully that will happen as well. As for what you and I are going to do, we don't know. The future's just sort of out there.
Yeah.
But we did want to talk about this. We wanted to see it through to the end, didn't we? Because we've done it. We did season 1. Well, most of season 1 you did.
We abandoned Discovery. Well, I abandoned Discovery. You watched it.
I finished season 3.
You didn't make.
Didn't do any of season 4. We didn't do
Oh,
season 4.
No. Yeah.
Season 2 of Picard, we were going to do the whole lot, but then we got ill. Things going on again, so
we got ill. You had work. Everything was.
We came back to it at the end and did that big which I think is possibly what we're going to do this time. We don't know yet.
Probably.
We just wanted to talk about episode 1, Next Generation. It's cool, isn't it?
It's called the Next Generation.
Yeah.
They tried.
Yeah.
They actually tried with this one.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, but first and foremostly, I don't know if we're going to... should we say that we'll just jump into spoilers straight away? I mean, by the time this video goes up, most people will have seen it, so...
We are going to spoil the episode if you have not seen it,
okay.
So watch it.
Yeah.
Honestly, the others, it probably didn't matter if you had them spoiled, because...
Well, they were crap anyway.
But, spoiler to the video, we both thought it was good, so watch it. And return.
I've got some very mixed feelings about this episode and this season as a whole, really. We'll get into that. As I've said it many times, I don't like where generally all of science fiction is now, especially Star Trek. It's still owned and run by the same people.
Yeah.
Even though there was an anomaly with this season. Should we talk about that a little briefly firstly? For anybody who's not in the know, who doesn't know if they're going to watch it or, they had a writer who's Terry Matalis. He was an intern actually on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was...
Oh, was he?
Yeah, script editor, I think. He worked on Deep Space Nine, Voyager and Enterprise. He was the showrunner of 12 Monkeys, which was a good show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, based on the Terry Gilliam film, which is a fantastic film. So he was... like a hired gun sort of script doctor type thing for season 2 of Picard.
Yeah.
But he didn't really have a huge amount of involvement naturally with whoever was running that show at that point in time. He wasn't going to get any involved anyway. And the official version that's going round, I've had some insight recently into some bits and pieces that are going on because of my media contacts. There's quite a few people on YouTube have talked about the fact that they've had early access to the episodes. Things like that. You and I are both aware of these various people on YouTube and that, and they've all really come from it of the approach of, yes, we've watched it and this is very, very good, and they've basically said the reason why it was good was because Terry Matalis is a massive Star Trek fan, which he is.
That's very apparent,
and he knows it inside really, really well, and he was left to just. Like, while the cat's away, the mice will play, basically. It was an anomaly. It was a blip. No one was really watching what he was doing. And even before information came my way, I thought, that can't be right. Because even though Paramount are paying for it, the overall running of Star Trek at the moment is Secret Hideout, Alex Kurtzman's company, which is
shit.
Yeah. And they have agendas as well. They have their... identity politics, their political agendas that they want to insert.
This is no secret. He has said this.
Yeah,
has
blatantly.
He said Star Trek is his
Akiva
political
Goldsman
platform.
has. Michael Chabon says we like to do things to screw with the heads of fans and that, so that so it's blatant. And then there was all that Walter Mosley stuff on Star Trek Discovery, wasn't he? He was booted because he tell a story about him, his past, and they had him in front of HR, didn't they, and all that. There's loads of stories, loads and loads of stories about the identity politics agenda and all that to it now. And yeah, I mean, people say, Star Trek's always been political. I would say it's always been a morality. It's addressed politics and that, and it's a morality tale, but it hasn't been. It was never weaponized, militarized like it is now. You know, it's militant in the way it does it now. So this series is an anomaly, because some people have said on YouTube it's almost. I don't like the word, but woke. You know, it's pretty much woke free. My contacts have told me it's pretty much woke free. And what we've seen of episode 1 does appear to be woke free, doesn't it? So
it's very different to everything else that's come out lately.
Yeah. So this idea that he was just left to his own devices, left to get on with it, left to create it, and no one really cared. Let's put it this way: the information that's come my way is that they haven't abandoned the agenda, they haven't abandoned their ideology, their doctrines, and all that kind of thing. It's not even a case of we need to get lots of money watching this to make money, because most media outlets now are getting subsidised by like your BlackRock, Vanguards of the world. I mean, it's just circular money. They invest in the media invest in them, and it just keeps going round and round. So it doesn't. They can make something that's absolutely shit. There's no one watching it. It will still get funded. So this idea of get woke, go broke, it will never really happen, because it will still get financed.
It wouldn't. Yeah, especially like a lot of the big companies.
It'd be great if it did, but
a lot of the big companies, they've got other income methods.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Disney's got like. Disneyland, Disney shops.
They got money in biotechnology, energy, publishing, and then clothes, food, lifestyle, everything, you name it. Yeah.
I mean, Amazon, they can make something. Literally, no one can watch it, but they have that many Prime subscribers. Because realistically, everyone has Amazon Prime. Yeah. Because it's just so worth it.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and even if they don't, they're still subsidised by the fact that they trade so much and sell so much. You know,
it's like a lot of the time. We loathe
the way Amazon works. You know, it's a valuable resource.
Yeah,
you know, publishing my books, for example. You know, that kind of thing. And then you've got things like the BBC, which is a different model entirely. But
we all fund them.
The people fund it, the taxpayer funds it. So they can make what the hell they like, and the money's never going to dry up.
And they do, because no one watches it.
No one watches it. Yeah. But the information that's come my way is the reason why it. I think what I've been told, and I, just don't, figure this out for yourself. Look around on the internet. Look into things and all that. If people have got any media contacts, talk to them and that. Try and find out things, but. My sources are reasonably reliable. They've been reliable so far, haven't they? Whenever I've asked for it, I mean, they were right. They gave me the heads up on Doctor Who, Jodie, and that before it was announced publicly. And that, so it's a bit like this. There was this rumor floating around that Star Trek was going to kind of be retired for a little while, a bit like Doctor Who was going to, and so. It's not like letting Russell T Davies come in and do its thing for a while to get people watching again. That's what they've done with that. Yeah. It's to get more people watching it again. It's not to create money. It's just to create interest again. Yeah. Get its profile raised back up again. It's very similar to what they've done with Star Trek. I don't know if they've kept. They told Terry Matalis to do it, and like you're not doing it, or they've just kept Alex Kurtzman and the rest of them out, given them their own. Because I think Alex Kurtzman was working on the Man of Fellsworth. I think it was whilst this was going on. So I don't know, but whether they've just given other people other projects just to keep them out of the way, it would make their flagship in their eyes for Paramount is Picard, believe it or not. Because it's the really,
but no one watches
because it's got Patrick Stewart as the lead, and they've actually invested more money in it than anything. Certainly in the first season, it's the most costly one.
They had to spend a lot of time and money buying cheap products off Amazon to use as the background set. There's them coat hangers and stuff like that.
Yeah. That cupboard, that rack unit thing that you found on eBay or something, was it? Yeah. Whether it was by design or by default, they engineered either they did it on purpose or they engineered a set of circumstances to keep everybody out of the way. To, it's not so much that they've kind of allowed him to do it, but they've kind of herded him in that direction to do what you want anyway.
Yeah.
To the intention is to raise its profile again.
It needs.
It's not about making more money. It's they're trying to get its profile raised again, get more people watching it again, and then it doesn't matter if they screw it all up again afterwards. Yeah. They've just got more eyes back on it again. It raises its profile. It trends more.
I mean, it does. It needs it.
Yeah,
it really
does need it. Yeah, yeah. They know that they can't do it with Strange New Worlds because they thought that was going to be a good thing. It didn't trend really. It didn't. No one really watched it all that much.
Discovery's dead.
I don't know. They're still making it, but it's
no one even. Yeah. I don't think anyone knew season 4 was out.
Yeah.
Saw people online that they didn't even know.
And most people don't even know. I know quite a few people who've like generically heard of Discovery and Picard. They didn't even know there was Lower Decks, and certainly don't know about Prodigy. I mean,
the weird thing was, before season 1 of Picard came out, I was out in the streets, and they'd got like this like big shuttle-shaped thing for advertisement right in the centre where loads of people would be.
Yeah,
and they were like asking everyone like, "Oh yeah, do you like Star Trek? Do you want to go in here?" I was just like, "Leave me alone, I'm shopping."
Yeah,
but yeah. They got like advertisement like that.
Yeah,
and this was in a big place where a lot of people were around, and after season 1, nothing.
That was the
no
big
advertisement
thing, wasn't it?
or anything.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
They thought Picard,
really thought
everyone
that
will
was
watch.
going to be the thing.
And a lot of people watched at the start. No one watched season 2.
They royally screwed the pooch, didn't they? That was the problem. Yeah, and so now it is like I say, cutting a long story short, it's about getting the eyes back on it again, raising its profile, getting it trending, all that kind of thing. A bonus if they get loads of viewers and then obviously make more money out of it and all that kind of thing. But don't think... there may be a sea change, because there is a bit of a sea change going on in the media at the moment. There is more of... The pushback is starting to happen now. And my BBC contact has said that there is a pushback starting now. But it's still not big enough. And the biggest problem is while the powers that be in the world are dictating those that funnel the money into the media, i.e., like I say again, your Vanguard, your BlackRocks and all that kind of thing, and so much of that money is given to them on the basis of their ESG ratings as well, the economic, social governance ratings, credit scores type thing, basically. So you've got to tick all those boxes. You've got to tick all the diversity, equity, climate change, things that we can't talk about on YouTube anymore now. You've got to tick all those boxes. Away from those, there's lots of other things that happen in 2020 onwards, things are happening in the easterly direction of us in the world at the moment and things like that. All these kind of, you got to tick all these boxes, and that's what gets you your money.
Yeah.
Whilst you're doing that, you'll get your money from these entities. You don't, and that money goes away.
Yeah.
And then you've buggered, And so it's not being abandoned completely, but there is starting to be a pushback against it now. So who knows where this is going to go? Will this season just be an anomaly, or will it be?
I don't know.
Something. Yeah.
The thing is though, a lot of what. So obviously the big draw to this season is you've got like everyone coming back. From
let's get into that.
But the other shows don't have anything like that.
No.
So. Are they? I don't think they'll be able to do something like this because they're like it's done sort of in the style of Next Generation.
Yeah.
But they've got nothing to work off for the other shows.
No, that's right.
So all they can do is just
they
make
tried
shit
it with
up.
Discovery with Spock, but it wasn't an actor that had previously played Spock, so they've kind of lost there with that. Even though they got the character, but of course that didn't work because they screwed the character up.
Yeah.
In every which shape or form, So this is a big thing, and
it's the final season. It's their last chance to do it. I think.
Yeah, and it is the swan song. This is the way it's been promoted as being their big hurrah. I personally don't think that they ever really needed one. I thought All Good Things was perfect, but it's always nice to have these characters come back if they're well written.
Do you think they'll kill one at the end?
I don't know.
I was thinking to myself while I was watching it, I'm like, I could see maybe Riker getting killed or Picard getting killed, someone like that. Might be completely wrong.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I know bits and pieces of what happened in the season.
Oh, okay.
It's something I can't really talk about it, But because of my media contacts, there was a possibility that I could have seen some of it in advance, but I chose not to, because I know other people have. That's up to them. But for me, I feel that it compromises my alternative knowledge research, and the information that my contacts get me is more driven towards that. So I feel that it would compromise me in some way. I'm not saying that other people are compromised because they do it. That's up to them.
I'd be like, give me the NDA, I'll sign it here. Let me see it.
I couldn't, in all good conscience, because I'm always going on about the media and the way it currently exists. Not that it's ever always existed like that. It hasn't, but as it currently exists now, and has done probably for the last 15, 20 years, with some exceptions, it's that percentage of what I thought was credible about it has got smaller and smaller and smaller. It's allowed to less than 1% of credibility in it now, if that. So I'm not going to go into sort of bloody, not NDAs before a certain time. No, that's not me. So, yeah. But I do know things, bits and pieces. I don't know if any of the main cast dies at the end. That's something I don't know.
One thing I noticed at the end, in the credits, is Gates McFadden was special guest star.
Right, yeah.
Now, I don't know if they've got a different set of credits for each episode, but perhaps she's not going to be in it for the whole thing. Possibly.
There's an interesting thing, and I don't know if it still works this way now. It used to work this way. There used to be a feature of when an actor was not the main actor in something, and they'd been in it for a long time, and the fans loved them, and they were almost level pegging with the lead, but you couldn't put them in the lead.
Yeah.
They'd give them a also starring or kind of credit. For people who are nerdy stuff in sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that, Alison Hannigan, who played Willow in Buffy, she basically got that credit towards the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
Michael Shanks, who played Daniel Jackson in Stargate SG-1, he got that credit because he left because he wanted, and they came back and was almost for all intents and purposes, were equal top billing, but they could never be allowed to because of the main. And I know that Gates McFadden had a real issue with how Dr. Crusher was portrayed in the TV series and the films. She's always going on about how she felt like she never had enough to do. In truth, that's true. She really didn't have that much to do. She had some good episodes. There are a handful of really good episodes of her, but other than that, she was just kind of there in the background. She'd be in the crew when they were all sitting in the observation lounge, all talking together and that, have her little bits of dialogue. And in the films, she was just really... you've seen the films. Can you remember anything prominent about the plots of those films that involved Dr. Crusher? No. No, exactly. Yeah. So I know one of the things about her coming back was she wanted something much meatier. Would that have been enough to give her a hell of a wage rise for this? I don't know. Is she the kind of actress who can demand that sort of...
Depends how long she's in it. If she dies early on or something.
I suppose also it depends on whether they were desperate to get all of them back and she was a holdout.
Maybe.
She might have just played it to get more out of it.
Maybe.
Money-wise. I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure all of them are coming back, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, the main ones anyway.
Yeah, the main 7 is it, yeah. Okay, let's just very, very briefly then, because there's really not a lot to spoil, because not a lot happens, but it's setting up a big arc of these 10 episodes. It's kind of... But doesn't it just really make you feel like you're back in in what I call the real Star Trek universe? It's not. It's got a lot of carryover from Kurtzman's stuff. It's got to, naturally.
It's the subtleties, I think.
Yeah.
Just...
Picard feels a lot more like Picard again.
I noticed that he's... Because we were talking, a bit ago, about, how he sort of talks like he's a senile old man. And he doesn't... He's not as much.
No, it's there a little bit.
It's there a little bit.
That's probably more his age.
Yeah.
And trying to sort of play... But it's not... No, you're right.
He's not like, I'm Patrick Stewart.
I need to sleep now.
Because he was like that before. Yeah. But not as much.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And Riker's completely different to season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Literally completely different.
Yeah.
He's back like the old one again.
Yeah,
like the little subtleties where he accidentally
Yeah.
calls him captain, and where they call each other captain.
And there's some great
one,
things. I mean, 7 of 9 feels a lot more like 7 of 9 in this. There's been some talk online about dead naming, all this kind of thing, because that bit where she said the captain insists I be called Commander Hansen, that they call her 7 of 9 and all that, and there's some people have got on their little soapboxes to talk about that. We're not going to get into that here again because it's another thing you can't talk about nowadays. But
they're a little bit right.
They are a little bit right, but there is some context to that, because when 7 of 9 was Janeway got her out for the Borg, I think you saw the episode. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we did a video. On
was it The Gift after Scorpion Part 2? We did do a video on those 3 episodes. Yeah, and she says to her, shows the picture of her, goes Annika Hansen. That was it. You know, that's who you are. And I don't know if it was in that episode or a couple of episodes after. She's like, "Why don't you use your name?" And she's like, "No, I'll stick with 7 of 9." You know, and even as the series goes on, even though she's now does not want to be a Borg at all, she's quite happy as being a human, and that's clearly shown in several episodes where she has the chance to be reintegrated into the Borg again. She wants no part of it. I'm talking about Voyager. I'm not talking about anything to come after. But she kept her name, even though she was human, she kept her name as 7 of 9. And but in season 7, I think it was, where she talks to her aunt over subspace and that, and she calls her Annika, and she doesn't argue with her and say, "I'm not Annika, I'm 7 of 9." She accepts the fact that some people are going to from time to time call her Annika. She gets a bit bullshit about it in this, doesn't she?
Well, you can see the discomfort.
Yeah. But she also, despite the fact that Captain Shaw, who's a new character in this, comes across as a bit of a quite
a bit of one.
But in fairness though, there is an element of people are always talking about how Starfleet characters in the new Kurtzman Trek don't feel like Starfleet officers. He does feel like a Starfleet officer. He's sticking to the rules. This is my ship.
Yeah.
This is the way we're going to do things around here.
If
it's not yours.
If it was the other way around, Picard would be like that as well. He'd be like...
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thought to myself about this. I thought, well, you know, captains do go off and do things that they're not supposed to do. Kirk went to rescue Spock's Catra in Star Trek 3, and they stole the Enterprise, and in Star Trek 6, you know, when Kirk and McCoy are in the Klingon prison, they go to rescue him. Sulu takes the Excelsior as well to meet up with them, and obeys the... God knows how many times Sisko did it in Deep Space Nine, and Janeway did it in Voyager as well, and... Although she was away from Starfleet, so she didn't have anybody to answer to.
Deep Space Nine is a bit different too,
did it as
because they're at war.
Yeah. Next Generation did it a few times. The amount of times Picard just said, "Sod the Prime Directive."
Yeah.
I'm going to rescue my crew member, you know, and that. So
in all fairness,
mixed messages.
In all fairness, Shaw does think that they're just trying to like randomly hijack the ship for like one random last adventure or something. So,
but what I liked about it was that moment where. Because it makes my like that, you know. I can feel the stressed Eric going in my neck when I hear swearing in Star Trek. It doesn't belong in that universe.
I know you don't like it at all.
It doesn't belong in that universe. I accepted it a bit with Enterprise because it was way before, you know. So they were still close enough historically for that language to still be in use. Well, for a lot of people. But 25th century, you know, they're so far away from now. They wouldn't use colloquialisms of profanity, swear words as well either, would they? You know, it's unless you can make an exception, like say Tom Paris in Voyager is an historian of the 20th century, so he watches a lot of films and reads a lot of books, listens to a lot of music and all that, so he might know it. So he might use it but not everybody. Most people won't. Do we speak like Shakespeare plays? And that's the same time period, isn't it, really? It's more or less the same, you know.
We should do it for a laugh.
You know, doth, hath, thou, you know.
We should do our videos like that.
Whereas mineth.
I know it really does bug you when
on
they
this
do
morn. Oh, thou come to thee. Yeah, it does. It bugs me.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not a prude. I don't care if people swear. I swear like a, But it doesn't fit in this universe. It really doesn't. But anyway, sorry, I'm completely going off track with that.
I'm not bothered about swear. Swear as much as they like. I don't care.
Just not right. It's just. Anyway, so, but it's not even just swearing. It's words that wouldn't. We've got words that would have been used 20 years ago that don't get used now. So certainly 400 years, 500 years, whatever, they'd be gone. I mean, unless there was a resurgence in popularity. But you'd have to see that happen over a period of time, wouldn't you? And that there's no explanation for why all of a sudden everyone's effing and jeffing. But anyway, so 7 of 9 takes them to task, and that's when she swears about, I want to know what the hell you're, and Riker. Picard's not this cooked, henpecked, I'm so sorry sort of thing, He's like proper Picard again. And Riker stands up for him. Yeah. He's like, that's Admiral Picard. You'll respect him.
There was a few moments where I was like, are they backtracking on this? Like, there was I can't, honestly, I cannot think off the top of my head of any examples, but there was a few parts where I was thinking to myself, like, are they actually retroactively pretending that season 1 and 2 didn't happen?
It certainly feels that way. I mean, they can't overtly do it.
Yeah.
And I have heard that there are a few more overt things in the series where they're kind of really like digging in at what happened stuff. But then you'd think it's that we talked about Doctor Who. Is Russell T Davies going to retcon it, or is he just going to ignore it like it just pretended it? Try and just pretend that it never happens.
The thing is,
I think this is what they're doing with this. They're trying to just pretend that it never.
The thing, they can't just, because it's season 3 of a show, they can't just pretend season 1 and 2 didn't happen.
No, and they're also drawing attention to it by kind of like
ignoring it a bit. Yeah.
I always say this with the media, especially with the news and that. Don't listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're not saying. Yeah. What they're pointing to you. What they're not pointing to is what you should be looking at, and that would be blatantly obvious what they would be doing with this, then, wouldn't this?
Yeah.
But they haven't done that because they've, otherwise they'd have got rid of Raffi, and Raffi's in it. They'd have got rid of Laris. Is it Laris? I can never remember because she had a different name in season 2. It was the ancestor one.
I think it's Laris.
Laris, yeah. But she's there at the beginning. We see the ship. La Serena's in it briefly as well. So they've not ignored it, have they?
I mean, it'd be weird if like Laris wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Because the bond they have formed and that, it'd be weird to just
yeah. And I never had a problem with her character anyway. No. She was actually one of the few good things about
should probably
season 1.
Probably get rid of Raffi though.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. People like to accuse people of pointing certain types of ist fingers, and that's nothing to do with that. It's not even about whether she's a good actress or a bad actress. And she seems to be a good actress.
Yeah.
In her career, in terms of what she's done or not, and even as a person, I've not really heard her say anything to bash fans. I know a lot of them have. Certainly, it's hard to watch the Next Generation cast now because there's very few of them who haven't. About the only one is Michael Dorn. Even Frakes, Jonathan Frakes, has put he's put his foot in it a bit here and there. Michael Dorn seems to be the only one who seems to be respectful of the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, Marina Sirtis. I mean, when they had that ice toward the storm thing and that literally like hell froze over in Texas.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, that's what you get for voting for." I thought, how evil? How evil are you? Whatever your politics are, you don't wish people dead. From a cause of freak of nature. It's just Anyway, so I find it hard to watch her nowadays because I find it hard to watch all of them. But so where do you stand on that then? Watching these actors that are the way they are. Can you divorce them from?
I can, completely. I can really, with pretty much everything, I can separate the artist from the art type thing, and a lot of the time, people be like, "But you shouldn't like that. They're bad people." I'm like, "Yeah, but the product."
I know. I mean, that's a certain computer game at the moment, but and it's like. How many people work on something? It isn't just one person's property.
No, it's not.
It might be owned by them, but countless people have worked on something. You're literally throwing the baby out with the bathwater then, aren't you, if you're going to say...
Yeah. It's a bit like with The Flash. Like, Ezra Miller.
That's the fault there,
not good person.
Yeah.
Very not good
Absolutely,
person.
yeah.
The film trailer, honestly, in my opinion, actually looks really good. You obviously don't agree by your face. But I thought it looked really good.
I like Michael Keaton as Batman. He was just, like the best Batman for me. Yeah. That's a very controversial opinion. I do have some controversial takes on things.
You really do, actually,
sometimes. But, I mean, the best Batman film is Batman Returns. The second one, the Keaton one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me.
I don't agree with that.
I know. Everyone goes to Heath Ledger, don't they? And Dark Knight and all that.
But the new Batman's up there for me. That's very up there for me.
Let's just talk briefly about Raffi. So she was a junkie. Yeah. And now she's working for... Well, we think it's Starfleet Intelligence, but it could be Section 31. We don't know. She's going through the underbelly of the drug world to find out this information about this red woman. Come back to that in a second. And so she's like, she says, I'm spiraling, doesn't she? Yeah. Like, I can't cope with this. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, is it a wise idea to have secret services employing former like murderers and junkies and that? Yeah. But actually, they do that.
I mean, so she was also dishonourably discharged as well.
So, yeah. And she was back in Starfleet after, and then so. But I don't know if she was taking something though. I can't.
It was a bit vague because they mentioned that about it, and she did buy drugs.
Yeah.
In it, but it never did it show whether she used them or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So she's either is on again or she's not. One of them.
Yeah. I think I took away from it that she was not. She's being tempted by it, and she almost would be, but she hasn't quite yet. Yeah. And she probably won't be. But she's like right on the edge of it. She's struggling with this kind of thing. Yeah. That's how I took it away from that. So.
And then the next episode is Breaking Bad, and she buys an RV and starts creating crystal meth.
Yeah. She goes out to the valley where a caravan is in the desert again and hooks up a meth lab.
Yeah.
Lots of references to old stuff, loads of stuff. We've skirted round the. I just want to mention that red lady. Yeah. Rachel Garrett, Enterprise, yesterday's Enterprise, Captain Garrett of the Enterprise C.
Oh, yeah.
That was
that
was the statue that Rachel Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know you'd seen the episode, but I wasn't sure whether you caught the reference to it. Yeah. There's loads of references. On Crusher's ship, she's growing orchids. She grew orchids on the Enterprise D. The music and references to that she liked doing like plays,
much
drama.
Music from different stuff.
Yeah. Picard's Russican flute we're talking about from the Inner Light. That's another throwback to the musical thing as well. The music's fantastic in it.
They use any new music?
They did. Yeah, but there was like arrangements where they were just constantly going in and out of motion picture. Star Trek 3, First Contact. There was little touches of Voyager and DS9 and I me being the nerd that I am, I know all the musical motifs for them. So little things that.
I just kept hearing stuff. I'm like, I know that.
Loads of next gen stuff. Yeah, really.
They actually brought the Next Generation theme back as well, and thank God they have abolished that atrocious intro that they had before.
Oh, it's terrible. That
so bad. Yeah. I was actually grinning by the prospect that I never need to see that terrible intro again.
Yeah.
I mean, at least there's a skip button on Amazon. I guess that got me through it before.
Yeah.
But I won't need to this time.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So the basic, let's just, because we've got so far into it now, it's not really, but the basic premise of this story is that Crusher's up to something out on the edge of Federation space. She's attacked, and she's got Jack Crusher there, which turns out to be her son, you find out at the end of the episode. Whether it's Picard's son as well, we don't know yet, because obviously they talk about the fact that Picard and Crusher tried to have a relationship for a bit and it didn't work out.
That could be an interesting way to take it.
Kind of when he would have been born, if that was So I mean, they already did that Next Generation. They tried the relationship thing with it. All good things. Yeah. It says they were married, but then they broke up. So they've kind of pilfered that idea from that. I think so.
I mean, it could be an interesting way to they're trying to deal with all this, and suddenly he's a father as well.
Yeah. Although he has been a father before, it's not technically sort of. I know you haven't seen the episode. There's a Next Generation episode where this guy turns up, and he's like, you think he's Picard's son, but it actually turns out he's not in the end. But for the whole episode, you've got Picard wrestling with this idea. Other episodes where he's had to be like a surrogate father to kids and things like that. So he's the kind of, most of these things they will have done at some point already in Star Trek. But if you're going to do it, and you're going to, there's no such thing as an original idea, but you're going to go back and regurgitate these things. But they seem to have done a good job of it.
Yeah.
They seem to have a good job of it. So anyway, so she gets attacked. She sends a distress signal out to Picard, which he gets on his communicator, which I'm not sure if communicators can do what they do in this episode, because there were always audio ones in. And he says 20 years, but the time frame of when he last, and he says, "Oh, I had that when I last saw Crusher." They weren't using those comm badges then; they were using them ones. They moved over to them, Voyager and the films. They weren't using the round ones with the chevron in the middle. Then, so that's a bit of continuity error there. I don't think they were ever used to show like a video. Maybe he'd updated the technology inside it or something. I don't know. So anyway, so they decide then they're going to go and find out and rescue her. That's the plot of this episode, isn't it? Yeah. And they're going to try and steal a ship or go through official channels. They realise that wouldn't work. 7 of Nine's the commander on the Titan, Riker's former ship. Yeah. So that's how they get. Yeah. That's how they get there. Yeah. And that obviously, Captain Shaw, who we mentioned before, he's the captain of the Titan. Titan looks great. Yeah. That ship looks really, really good, doesn't it? Yeah.
Everything looks great in it, to be honest. Like visually, it all looks good. There's nothing where you're a bit like, oh, that looks a bit dodgy or anything. Like it all looks good.
I mean, I've always got 2 issues with it. Star Trek nowadays looks too dark. I know that's where they are with it now. I know the JJ films, even Enterprise was too dark for me. Yeah. But even the first couple of seasons of DS9 were quite dark, but they did lighten it up a bit then. Yeah. But I like Starfleet ships to look bright and sparkly, and I know they can't do that now, and only in as much as because that's the aesthetic they've got now. Yeah. But I don't know, maybe they could get a brand spanking new ship and say, you know what, we've decided that the way ships don't look that good. We're going to brighten them all up. I'm going to get mahogany wood arches round the bridge like on Next Generation. And
well, they've destroyed all the mahogany trees. Yeah. They've just built all these Starfleet headquarters everywhere, and there's no mahogany left. That's it. They used it all on the ships. There's none left anymore.
Wooden ships.
There's none. That's why it's like it is now. There's just no wood left.
Yeah.
One thing for praise I have, that they've actually every other season of new Star Trek, they've put the main villain out in the first episode. So pretty much. Yeah. Like you normally if it's an AI or. That's pretty much it. It
has been, hasn't it? Every season of
whether it's an AI. Yeah, this time it's different. They are you don't know what they are. They're some sort of shape-shifting thing or something, because it said they keep coming back different each time. Yeah, and they're different ships each time.
Dominion, changelings.
Oh, is it actually?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, but.
I do know something about what it is, but I don't want to spoil it. So,
it's different this time. It's actually there is some intrigue there. You're like, okay, well, what is it?
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there, by the way, just to be. I'm not. That's not me saying it is.
As in, that is a different.
Because you just said changing shapes, sort of thing. Yeah. There are other changelings in Star Trek history, not just the Dominion, not just the changelings. There's several other changelings appear throughout the series. So, who knows?
Unless it's
even that, because I'll put that out there.
Unless it's a big army which has loads of different species and ships in it or something. Yeah. But it says they're coming back.
There's loads of speculation at the moment. There's an episode from season 1 of Next Generation where these parasite things go into their neck and it takes over all the Starfleet admirals and all that. It's called Conspiracy, the episode. It's a good episode, actually. It's a very violent, gory episode for Star Trek. That was Gene Roddenberry's middle finger to... Anyway... people have said, is it the conspiracy aliens? So there's all sorts of speculation out there, which is good. That's what healthy fandom is. When people actually start talking about what things could be, that means they're interested again and they're actually enjoying it and they're actually watching it. So.
I mean, the fandom for Star Trek is a little...
It's pretty much gone.
It's gone, but...
It's aged out as well as not young people, really.
But before it did go, it was a bit extreme.
Oh, yeah.
It was not a nice place to be. And you see that online, you're like, keep that away.
And funnily enough, people would like you to think that it's been this wonderful place. It's always been, to some degree, like that.
Like elitists and that.
Well, I've got old articles. I've got currently working through a load of... I mean, they're free to anybody to download, actually. If you go back on the Wayback Machine on the internet, you can find all the old Starlog science fiction magazines from like 76 onwards, 75, 76 onwards. Issue 1 right through to like 300, I don't think it's like to the very last one, but it goes well into the early 2000s. And I've been going through them all for research purposes, for my books and for videos, because I'm actually I've found a fantastic article that I'm going to make a video about as well. Okay. So, but yeah, they used to have a letters page in the first sort of 10 pages, a couple of pages where people would write in complaining about things, and you want to hear some of the things that they talk about when they killed Spock at the end of Wrath of Khan, when they resurrected Spock again, when Next Generation started. They'll only ever be Kirk's Star Trek, and literally they're saying Star Trek isn't about idealism or anything like that. At that point in time, Star Trek was about Kirk, Spock, McCoy. That's what Star Trek is.
Yeah.
If you don't have them three in it, it's not Star Trek. And you can read these letters right into when Next Generation's finished, Deep Space Nine's on. We hate Berman Trek, Rick Berman Trek. Anything but the first series, brilliant. The animated series of the original series, brilliant. Everything after that, rubbish. It's not Star Trek. We hate it. And then people who are like, oh, I liked the original series. I couldn't stand Next Generation, but I liked Voyager. I liked Deep Space Nine. Yeah. It's weird, and they've got these weird little niche-y kind of attitudes towards it, like snobbery about Star Trek.
Yeah.
I know what Star Trek is, and you don't have any idea, and you don't love Star Trek if you don't like it the way I like it. It's always been like that. But there is a caveat to this. Generally, there's a consensus amongst most fans of what is true or real Star Trek, because I'm going to use this point now because I'm probably going to put this in the thumbnail and the title for this video, but is this real or true Star Trek? And I think for the most part it is, because there's certain things that were like in the ideals of Gene Roddenberry. Those were that made real Star Trek. Was it idealistic? Was it optimistic? That made Star Trek. Did they do good morality tales? I don't think this is a morality tale at the moment. It certainly hasn't. It's just a mystery kind of mystery box kind of, and I can't stand the mystery boxing because that's J.J. Abrams type thing. But
depends
it seems to be working. Yeah, it seems what's in the box. Yeah, yeah. So that, non-exclusion as well. You can have your diversity, but you've also can't exclude anybody. That's the problem nowadays. Which you're not even allowed to say that either. You can't say that. About certain people if they get excluded. But Star Trek never excluded anybody in terms of its fandom and in terms of its stories. So that's another thing that made true Star Trek. If you're alienating your fans, then you're not real Star Trek anymore. So that's one of the biggest fall downs that they've got up to this point with Star Trek. My other niggling problem with all of this is, it's still it is. There's been a lot of debate, hasn't there, on YouTube?
Yeah.
At the point of time of recording this video, Doomcock, Overlord DVD, he's still holding out. In the next day, this might be irrelevant to the video, but as it's time of this, he's still saying it's crap. Don't want to know. These are like abusers who have been abusing you, and then they come in and say, "I'm going to treat you right now. It'd be like when we first met again. It'd be wonderful." Yeah. It's too late. You've done what you've done, and I do understand that.
Yeah,
it's hard to come back to something when it's still being effectively created by roughly the same people, certainly still being financed by the same people, still got the same people involved in it that are being horrible to the fans. So should we really?
I see.
It's an ethical question, isn't it?
It is, but I would argue to that they've made a lot of like many seasons of crap.
Oh, and you said this.
I did say this to you, but if they've actually come out with something good.
Yeah.
Well, so far anyway. And if everyone refuses to watch it and everything like that, they're going to be like, oh, okay, they didn't like this, so let's not do anything like this again.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they'll go off and do what they did before.
Yeah.
So I think if you people want to see more stuff like this, they should get the viewing numbers up.
If people are showing that they're appreciating it and that they're coming for it, then
like
that's
that
a message
happen.
goes to them then that you're doing something right, but they can't get contemplative and sort of think, oh, we'll be stroking our egos because we've done something good.
Yeah.
Yes, you've done something good, but we're telling you what you've done good.
Mm.
So they've got to listen to that. My argument was always being credit where credit's due. So it's like, say, for example, the media, the news especially, but the media lies all the time about things. Now, if people started telling the truth about things, I will give them some respect and credit because they're doing what they should be doing as opposed to what they are doing.
Yeah.
So you've got to give people credit where credit's due.
And I think
this is the same as if they are doing something, then they're being respectful. Even if they're not necessarily being respectful of the fans, they're being respectful of the intellectual property, what it stands for, and they're also not bashing us over the head with some ridiculous ideological doctrine.
I think a lot of people will probably not watch this just because they didn't want to watch season 1 and 2, and honestly, just skip it. Like, you're not missing much. Like,
it'd be
basically, like, everything you need to know.
Yeah.
The only character really that's returned, Raffi, basically, that's going to play probably a big part in it. And you pretty much find everything out you need to know about her in the first episode. Like, you find out about her history a bit. You find out, like, about her having a girlfriend and stuff like that. Like,
although, I mean, they broke them up, which surprised me.
Twice.
Seven and Raffi.
Twice.
Second time now they've done it, yeah.
They don't want them together.
No.
But it's weird because their entire relationship is shown off camera. Like, it's never shown at all.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I know.
Like, why don't they want to... Does one of the actresses not want to...
I don't know.
It's a bit odd.
I don't know. I know the biggest pairing up this season is Worf and Raffi. In that regard.
Oh, okay.
Quite a bit of their acting, quite a bit of their scenes are together.
That could be kind of funny.
Yeah, what I've heard is there's some interesting stuff there. People should not be concerned about the "I'm a pacifist now" thing, by the way, as well.
Oh, okay.
There's an amusing thing to it. Yeah, from what I've heard, there was more of to make a joke about something rather than to sort of turn Worf into a pacifist. So
is he not?
He's trying to be, but
but he's not.
But he doesn't have to be.
He's like, I'm a pacifist. Stab someone.
Yeah. So when he needs to, sort of, yeah. 7 of 9 feels a lot more like the proper 7 of 9 again.
Yeah.
As well, Voyager 7 of 9.
No space cowboy anymore.
How did she get the commander's rank though? That bugs me. That needs explaining.
But she
went from.
She was with Starfleet for a long time. She helped save the universe or whatever. Maybe they were like, there you go.
I get mixed messages on this because when we talked about it in one of the previous reviews, I'm pretty sure we said that we thought Janeway had tried to get her into Starfleet, but they wouldn't accept her, so she didn't stay in it for very long at all. So she certainly didn't get to the point of being able to get a commander's rank.
Maybe
if she was in it even at all, because at one point I thought she wasn't. She didn't even join them.
Maybe they got her in, but she knows some powerful people. I mean, she knows she's friends with Janeway, she's friends with Picard, and they just sort of like push her up a bit.
And also, I mean, something that they never seem to utilise is she knew everything in Voyager.
Yeah,
she really knew a hell of a lot. She got like the probably the highest IQ of all human beings. She was because of her nature of being in the Borg and having assimilated all that. She knew a hell of a lot.
She's not the smartest.
She's
the second smartest. Actually, I'll have you know, the number one smartest is.
I know.
Oh my God! What's her name? What's her name?
It begins with an M. Michael Burnham.
You know what? I weren't going to say that, actually.
Mikey Spock.
I wasn't going to say that, but
Queen of the Federation.
I was going to say... Giraffe, there we go.
Yeah, she was a close contender.
Oh, it weren't even that long ago, and I can't remember her name.
Yeah. One other thing I'll say is, all roads lead to a screaming Kelpian as well. That bugs the hell out of me, that does. No matter what they do, wonderful. Unless you can sort of say, oh no, that's a tangent timeline, an alternate future for the Federation. The Federation's going to end up in ruins because of a screaming Kelpian who's having a paddy. So that bugs me.
I can't believe
that bugs me. That does. Yeah.
Honestly, you know what? They wanted a twist. No way was I expecting that. Yeah. No way.
No.
Honestly, no way.
No one could have foreseen that. You got to give him that. You got to give him the credit for that.
Unpredictability, sure, 100 points, right? But
utter rubbish. But
terrible. The worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Shall we first of all rate it?
Can do.
Out of 10?
Don't really know what I'd give it, to be honest. The thing is, there's a lot of even some things you've mentioned in here that are like subtle nods to Next Generation. I have not seen every Next Generation.
No, I know you haven't.
So there are things that I've missed out on, but obviously I can appreciate quite a lot of it.
Yeah,
and it was a relatively entertaining episode. I'd give it maybe like 7.5 or
okay,
even at a stretch an 8.
Really?
Like, possibly,
okay.
Yeah. I can't really. There's not really too much wrong with
it. Yeah, I'm almost there with you. I'm gonna give it a 7 because I think it's an interesting story. I'm interested to see. You know, I mean, I do know some of it. So, but from the if I was to say from the perspective of just watching this first episode, it's setting up enough mystery to be interesting enough to see what happens next. But like you say, they don't introduce a bad guy other than we see the ship attacking at the end. So enough little tidbits and things there. They're not laying it all on straight off the bat, like they did with previous seasons, where the viewer knows right from the beginning, and the rest of the characters in the show find out on episode 7. Yeah. You know, it could still happen. That could. We find out long before they do. They might find out till like episode 9 or 10, but you know, there you go.
I do think there's like it is interesting, and it's also the characters have become entertaining enough to go through it with them as well. Like before, this would have been a bit. Yeah. It might have been a bit dull, but now they've made Picard like Picard again and Riker like Riker. Yeah, it makes it a bit more watchable.
That helps a lot. Absolutely. Also, because I've just thought of 2 other things that were bugged me about the current state of Kurtzman Trek. Far too violent and horrible. Which is fine if you're, but again, it's like the swearing. It kind of doesn't. I know there's always been some gruesomeness. We've talked about this in previous videos, and some horrible things happen to some of the characters in the original Star Trek series and Next Generation, and all that. You know, but like gouging Icheb's eye out and all that is just, and the beheading with what's his name?
Yeah.
Elnor.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, some horrible. You know, really like, and also. This type of Star Trek, not this that we've watched this episode, but generally the rest of it, it feels really mean-spirited. Do you know, the attitude towards, the contempt they've got towards not only the fans, but the whole of Star Trek lore. It feels really mean. Like somebody who's just really a horrible person who's spiteful sort of thing. And the attitude that the characters have towards each other, you know, I mean, you know, that crew on Discovery... They should not be running a bloody, I don't know, a coffee shop, let alone a starship. You know, no disrespect to people who work in a coffee shop, but I'm just anything. They shouldn't be running anything.
No,
they shouldn't even be running down the road, let alone a business or a place.
Start crying.
You know, they're all screaming at each other and shouting at each other and crying and throwing their arms and around in the, you know, and Picard was like that as well. It just seems like bizarre.
I mean, nowhere near as bad as Discovery.
There is a horrible. I can only put it like it is. Just feels like mean spiritedness to Star Trek. This doesn't feel like that. It's got that sense of wonder about it again. And that's when the Titan goes off through the space dock and all that. You really get that feeling of like we're going out there. You know, the adventure, the journey. I know there's a mystery into it as well, but you get that feeling of like, what would it, which I loved as a kid, what would it be like to be on a starship? You know, going out there and meeting all these new races and learning about their culture and being down to planets, exotic, you know, this powerful starship and warp drive and transporters and everything. And I know you had your bad alien races, but generally there was an attempt to always get on with each other and learn and find out stuff and go to these anomalies, you know, that were real anomalies, big like nebulas and planets and all.
Anomalies.
And that's not felt like that for years in Star Trek. This episode, when the ship was going out, and it helped that it was playing a little bit of like the Star Trek 3 music. Yeah. You know, when they're still the Enterprise in Space Dock, Star Trek 3, which is brilliant. Yeah, it's got a real nice vibe to it. So,
I was just thinking about the first thing you said about like the violence and swearing and stuff, and I'm like, old Star Trek. Like, especially like the original series and that, generally it's for anyone of any age, pretty much.
Yeah, that was why it was designed that way.
Pretty much, Next Generation the same. Maybe a bit older than the original.
I mean, like I said, that conspiracy episode's got horrible, gruesome stuff at the end of it.
But as it goes on, it's more like But yeah, it's more for like a bit less kiddie friendly.
Yeah, you could still watch it, even Deep Space Nine during the war and all that. You know, you could still be a kid and watch it without it being too traumatic. Or
would argue that Star Trek, even if it was at the best it was ever been, wouldn't get many new fans anymore.
That's an unfortunate product for at times. And
younger people, because a lot of younger people now don't like that sort of thing.
But it's that kind of can't you have both kind of attitude that I have towards it. I get that,
but I was like,
I loved it, but I always felt that one of the things that put people off watching Star Trek and a lot of other things was because it was just not gritty or didn't have any realism to it and that. But I loved it because it wasn't like But then at the same time, I still appreciated the stuff. Babylon 5 came along, was a lot darker. I mean, it's tame by today's standards, but it was a lot darker. And there's a belief that was what prompted Deep Space Nine to go down that route, because they were on concurrently. Took it into that darker place because Babylon 5 dared to do it a bit darker. I mean, and then the one that really did it was Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. That took Star Trek into science fiction, into a really dark, gritty, hyper real place kind of thing. But it worked for that. Yeah. And of course, what you were saying about younger people now, people who I don't believe should be watching Game of Thrones at a certain age, but they do. They really, I mean, that's where I might sound like a prude, but I don't think kids of a certain age should be watching gratuitous nudity and sex scenes and beheadings and violent torture and all that in things like Game of Thrones. I genuinely don't think there should be a cut-off age.
But a lot, like, it's not even just like the parent, like.
But they're desensitised to it, aren't they?
I mean, I know this was quite a while ago, but like, I went to see Deadpool in cinema and Deadpool 2 when they came out, and there was literally like 6-year-olds in there. And stuff.
I know, and to be honest with you, I am going to sound like a hypocrite saying this because I watched Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
When I was well before 80, you know.
Comparing that to like gore now and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so more, like if you compare it to like stuff in House of the Dragon or like The Last of Us, which is on at the moment, and stuff like that. Like it's very, like it's realer now.
It's too real. It's too real for me.
It doesn't bother me. Normally.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't bother me either. Really, maybe I am too desensitized to it. I think most people are too desensitized to it, and that's the problem. But going back to what we were saying is, you've got this wonderful thing, which you know we really need that in the world now. We need optimism and hopefulness. You remember we watched our Twilight Zone 5 episodes, and we talked about the messages that were in it. Yeah. All this rinky-dinky little black and white show from the late 1950s, and how great it was and how clever it was and how it brought out these ideas of how human beings could be with you. You said that, didn't you? And you know, there's never a point. There will never be a point in time where we don't need something like that.
Yeah.
Where an optimistic message,
Mm.
and where the world is intentionally. It's not an accident. It's not, people try to maintain that it is, but it's intentionally being flushed down the pan, the toilet. The world is at the moment.
Yeah.
And those are the times where you really do need something optimistic and hopeful for the future.
Yeah.
Star Trek could do that.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about it being mean-spirited.
It is literally your comfort thing. Everyone has their comfort thing, and it's literally yours.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Most people that are real, true Trekkies will say the same thing.
Mm. Do you know what my comfort thing is? I told some people this, and they just started laughing. My comfort movie is Doctor Strangelove.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's weird.
Yeah.
I know it's a great film, fantastic film. It's a Kubrick film, so
That's my. It's like my comfort movie. When I feel a bit stressed, I just sit.
That
chill
is weird because you couldn't get more stressed. It's the end of the world.
I know.
They were getting the end of the world coming round at the end.
I know. I probably sound like some sort of psychopath or something.
Maybe it's that thing of, Picard said it in that episode that everybody hates in season 2 of Next with the one with all the Irish people, and Picard starts laughing, and Riker says, "I never expected from you," and he says, "Sometimes you've just got to laugh at the absurdity of it all."
Yeah,
that
is Doctor Strangelove. Yeah,
yeah. Well, we've had it. The world's ending, so you may as well just have a pie fight.
Exactly.
Which was originally the original ending of the film, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, they shot it because there's photographs of it, but they never got included in the film. Yeah, they have a custard pie fight in the war room. No fighting in the war room. That's why that line would have had an even better meaning at the end.
Yeah.
They actually, yeah. I get the sentiment.
Yeah.
I get the sentiment. Yeah. It's not just that. I watch things that are really disturbing, and I watch them as a nice chill out thing.
Well, that's what
it's
TV
not just
and
Star
everything
Trek.
is in general, really.
Yeah, it's escapism. That's what it is. It's escapism. But Star Trek's always had the added advantage of, as well as being escapism, it creates a really positive message about the world, about what we can do when we all work together, about how we should treat each other, we should be respectful. Star Trek, and I think maybe the Twilight Zone as well, but the original one, but Star Trek's various iterations, they've always gone above and beyond what the others have done in terms of really, and it never insulted you as a viewer. It didn't shout and scream at you and say, this is what you should believe. It was like, there's this issue in life.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at this side of it. Let's have a look at that side of it.
Having a show that has the freedom to do that is a good thing.
Yeah.
A freedom to think that makes you want to think, oh, I wonder what that person has done, or oh, imagine if those two characters met, and that sort of stuff. People. Even though it's not official story, but it makes the world feel more real in whatever it is.
Yeah.
We've really gone off on that.
No, you're absolutely right. World building's brilliant. It's what makes it work. There's things we've watched recently, I know I have certain issues with it in terms, more to do with my alternative knowledge stuff, but For All Mankind, it's a great writing team though, isn't it? Ronald D. Moore and all that. But they've got loads of discussion of things that would currently be considered woke, or I'd hate that word, but they do it so well. It doesn't feel like it's in your face at all.
I mean, the new season especially, it's I mean, I'm not going to spoil the show, but there's a character who is the president, and there's a big focus on that.
Yeah.
And
her and her husband are... It's a marriage of convenience.
Yeah.
We are spoiling it now, aren't
we? We are spoiling it.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that. There's still issues tackled and stuff, but it's done in a way where you come to the conclusion
yourself,
this situation is messed up.
Yeah. There's nobody screaming at you through the screen telling you it's messed up.
You're like, this is messed up.
You come to that conclusion yourself,
this. Or you think how was the world at one point like this, and stuff like that. And
yeah. And they can get away with it because it's an alternative timeline, isn't it? As well, so it's not the real history of. Yeah. So we'll leave things there. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I'm hoping We're probably not going to be doing week to week, are we, with this? I don't know.
Probably
I don't
not,
think time's going to allow it for us with everything that's going on in our lives at the moment. But the intention, if nothing else, is to come back at the end.
Yeah.
Isn't it? We're going to do what we did with season 2. We're going to come back at the end.
I think, except we were a bit late for season 2, and we did it like a couple of months after.
Yeah, we're going to try and hit it.
We'll be on time this time.
Yeah, we're going to try and hit it right on the last episode, but within a day or so.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about where it's gone then, and if it held up all the way through. But there's a lot of promise, isn't there?
There is, yeah. Even the stuff like the terrorist attack on the Starfleet thing, like there's intrigue there. You're like, what, even though it's Raffi who's a bit naff, there's still like, oh, what's going on there? And
that could be something that loses me, because you know where I am with those sort of subjects, because of my alternative knowledge research and that. If I start seeing an allegory for things that happened in September, 20 years ago, and they start peddling the official narrative of it, it won't matter how good this show is for me. Then I will tune out.
Yeah,
that won't happen to many people, unfortunately. A lot of people will watch it, and they won't have anything bad to say about it. One of my biggest problems with, it's not the only problem, thank goodness, but one of my overriding big problems with Star Trek Into Darkness is the analogy for that.
Oh yeah,
it's a big part of the story. It's also a crap story as well, and so it isn't just that put me off.
But it's so original.
But
how it's such an original film.
Yeah,
Star Trek Into Darkness: The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. But thank you so much for joining me. A bit longer than we planned this video to be, but at least we've had a chance to catch up a bit. And all right, so you take care of yourself, and we'll
see you in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I guess it is 10 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
See you in 10 weeks.
Yeah. And thank you all out there for watching this video. We truly, truly appreciate it. If you like what we do, if you like the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Truly, truly appreciate it. Take care for now, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.
Bring back the different languages now we're doing Star Trek again.